Works. Well, she killed all.
Yeah.
Test, 1, 2, 3, test. K-Gem, are you we ready? Are we ready? K-Gem, we're ready.
Great. All right, that was an interesting way to start these. Good evening. I'm Kelly Ryan. I'm the president of the Monrovia Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for participating in this evening's mayoral debate, candidate debate. Before we begin, I'd like to thank K-Gem, who is broadcasting this live. If you're viewing this from anywhere other than city council chambers, the phone number that you can call in for questions that we will give to the candidates is 626-932-5550. Again, 626-932-5550. This forum is being presented by the Monrovia Chamber of Commerce in assistance with the League of Women Voters, who are always happy can help us out for these very important debates. We're going to break this into two forums tonight. There'll be a measure forum, and then there'll be the mayoral candidate debate. This time, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Dorothy Keene, who will provide the rules and get this thing going.
All right, thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Welcome to the two forums that have been organized by the Monrovia Chamber of Commerce. The Monrovia Forum on Ballot Measure RM is going to be followed by the Monrovia Mayoral Candidate Forum. The League of Women Voters Pasadena area has agreed to facilitate both forums this evening. My name is Dorothy Keene, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters Pasadena area, which includes Monrovia as one of the San Gabriel Valley communities that we serve. The League's mission is to make democracy work by building a community of engaged, informed, and participating voters. We study and act on public policy issues, but we never endorse or support candidates or parties. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce the rest of the League team. In addition to me, we have Ruth Judkins, who will be serving as timekeeper. We also have Debbie Fagan and Tony Kavanaugh Johnson serving as question sorters. And we thank all three of them. In the June 7th election, there will be Ballot Measure RM, a ballot measure that proposes to eliminate the direct elected mayor position and to establish an annual rotation process among the 5 elected city council members. Here is the order of this forum. I will read the synopsis of Measure RM. There are 2 other useful documents that are available to voters: City Attorney's impartial analysis of Measure RM and Ordinance Number 2022-01, which both are available at the City Clerk's office. I will introduce 2 residents who will speak on Measure RM. Tom Adams, Mayor of Monrovia, will speak for the Measure RM, and Bob Helbing, a Monrovia resident, will take the con position on Measure RM. Each speaker will have 5 minutes for an opening statement, and each speaker will have 1 minute for a rebuttal. Each speaker may also have 1 minute to answer any questions that are submitted by the audience, and the audience is invited to submit questions written on cards. We will then have a closing statement, and each speaker will be invited to give a closing statement for 1 minute if they so desire. Questions will be written on cards to be submitted to the question sorters. Only written questions will be accepted, and they must be in the form of a question. They may be directed to one speaker or both. If to one, the other may answer. Answers must deal with the issues of this election. No personal references or attacks will be allowed. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question and will be tracked by the timekeeper. There'll be no rebuttals. Depending on the number of questions we get, we will then move to the closing statement by each of the speakers. And with that, I will move to read the synopsis of Measure RM. Measure RM is an ordinance submitted to the voters of the City of Monrovia by the City Council. proposing to eliminate the directly elected mayor position and to establish an annual rotation process among the 5 elected city council members for the offices of mayor and mayor pro tempore. The measure will take effect only if approved by a majority of the voters voting on it. Measure RM provides that the office of mayor will become a 4-year city council seat, starting with the general municipal election in 2024. In the city's current directly elected mayor system, the mayor is directly elected by the voters to hold office every 2 years. The directly elected mayor has no power or authority that is significantly different from the other members of the city council. If Measure RM is approved by the voters, the city council will annually select council members to serve as mayor and mayor pro tempore, commencing at the regular city council meeting at which the results of the 2024 general municipal election are certified by the city council. In the rotational system proposed by Measure RM, the council member serving as mayor pro tempore will annually rotate into the office of mayor unless that council member declines to serve. For a complete copy of the ordinance proposed by Measure RM, please contact the city clerk's office or go to the office. The polls will be open from 7 to 8 on the day of the election. So that is the synopsis. And so now we will move hearing the position of the 2 speakers. And the first speaker, who happened to get it by a flip of a coin, so to speak, is going to be Mr. Bob Helbing. And he is going to give his position of Measure RM.
Thank you, Dorothy. Many cities in the San Gabriel Valley let the mayor...
Turn your mic on.
How do I do that? Push? Here we go. All right. Many cities in the San Gabriel Valley let the mayorship rotate through their city councils. 50 years ago, Monrovia's mayor was chosen the same way. The city council selected the mayor from the council members, but the resulting leadership was disappointing, and the voters chose to move to an elected mayor. Why? Well, what makes a good leader? 3 things, I'd say. Vision, an ability to see a better future. Performance, working in the present to make that future happen. And accountability, willing to admit mistakes and accept responsibility. A rotating mayor can't really deliver on this. The position really becomes nothing more than a committee chair, the rest of the council serving as committee members. When does a committee ever display vision? When does a committee ever accept responsibility? We know this because our community experienced it. No one remembers the names of any of our past rotating mayors. They provided little or no vision, and our city faded because of it. By 1976, Monrovia was little more than a bedroom community. It had a lackluster downtown featuring a closed department store and a closed newspaper. Myrtle Avenue had biker bars, while Huntington Drive had used car lots. When people here wanted to dine or see a movie, they went somewhere else, usually Arcadia or Pasadena. There were a lot of good people living in Monrovia, but Monrovia as a city wasn't special in any way. That changed when our city passed an ordinance to let voters, rather than the council, choose the mayor. Now the office had gravitas, and people with gravitas sought the position. Dick Mountjoy became a name not just here, but in Sacramento. Bob Bartlett was known in the halls of the U.S. Congress, seeking grants that could be invested in Old Town Monrovia. Mayor Ann Lutz headed the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments and became president of the trustees of Citrus College. Mayors Bartlett and Lutz, along with fellow mayors Rob Hammond and Laura Laramendi, were strong advocates for the construction of the Gold Line here in Monrovia, and Lutz and Hammond chaired the Joint Powers Authority for the Gold Line. All of these elected mayors brought vision to the office. They also delivered on performance. Our downtown now thrives. Monrovians now go to Monrovia to dine out and see a movie. Arcadians and Pasadenans come here too. We have high-tech employers in town like City of Hope and Worley Parsons, plus national headquarters for major corporations like Trader Joe's. Our family fair nights draw thousands every Friday. Direct elections have made this a better city for all of us to share. An elected mayor brings better accountability to city governance. Council membership is part-time. The daily running of the city is in the hands of a full-time professional, particularly the city manager. Since the manager works with staff every day, hires and can fire them, he ends up carrying a lot of clout. It's probably more clout than the council members hold. Many cities in Southern California have suffered when the city manager takes that role and that authority for granted. We saw that happen here a few years back during the Madison fire. The city manager at the time didn't even inform the mayor and the city council that a wildfire was burning in the city limits. Such presumption would be hard to counter with a rotating mayor. But we had no problem dealing with it here in Monrovia. The city manager was quickly replaced. That's accountability in action. Strong leadership attracts capable and motivated staff. Since electing mayors, Monrovia has developed a knack for attracting high-performing professional civil servants. Our past city managers have gone on to lead cities like Glendale, Ontario, Huntington Beach, and Irvine. This shows the quality of management Monrovia is now able to attract. There's another advantage to having an elected mayor. It gives the people of the city a greater voice in choosing our leaders and promotes greater engagement and involvement. It boosts turnout in our elections. We know who's in charge because we picked who's in charge. If we change our minds, we change that person. With a rotating mayor, that kind of direct connection between voter and the office is lost. With the office moving around like so much, we never get to know who our mayor is or feel like they represent us in our city. We can't tell who is making decisions we don't like, and we don't have an easy way to show we're unhappy. Stuff just happens without our involvement, so we no longer bother to get involved. These are why we should keep our vote and continue to elect our mayor. It's brought us leaders of vision, a high-performance city staff, better accountability to the voters. We've tried the rotating style and found it wanting. Why let the choice of mayor fall to 5 council members rather than to 30,000 Monrovia residents? Keep our vote and keep our city and community connected and thriving.
Thank you very much. And now we will hear from Tom Adams on the pro side.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the Chamber, the League of Women Voters, KGM, you all for being here, those watching at home, and Bob Helbing for his time this evening, because this doesn't happen if 2 people aren't willing to discuss this. For the 3rd time in our history, Monrovia gets to decide on how our mayor shall serve, directly elected or rotating as most cities our size do. There's certainly differences of opinion, and we're all entitled to ours. And our opinions need to be respected, but we're not entitled to our own facts. You see, the folks against this could have stopped by telling you they just simply don't want to give up their vote, but they didn't. The letter against this ballot measure is full of half-truths and borders on dishonesty. Monrovia deserves better. The sad part is that once these half-truths are exposed, this letter still goes out to all the voters. Matter of fact, I think everyone has it by now. And I really feel strongly that Monrovia deserves better. Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Helbing, do you have a rebuttal?
I'll take the time if I can.
Sure.
All right. Rather than directly address Mayor Adams' comments, I thought I would read something from 1976. This was the comments in the ballot, or in favor of electing a mayor. The mayor, as titular head of the community, is in the best position to reflect majority opinion. Although the powers and general duties of an elected mayor and councilman are the same, the mayor's duties and opportunities for exerting leadership are greater by virtue of the position he occupies. In this light, many neighboring cities have gone to an elected mayoral system, so that its citizens may be able to ensure their mayor has the necessary abilities, time, energy, and leadership qualities for such an important office. Responsiveness is also mandated by the people, for the mayor will have to answer to those who directly elected him. The election of mayor will not cause a change in our present council-manager form of government, but it will provide our citizens with a meaningful choice and not leave such an important decision open to chance. An elected mayor will become directly responsible and responsive to the people. Only by this method can we be certain to gain the community membership needed in a complex society. That was written by Dick Mountjoy in 1976 in favor of an elected mayor. I think everything he said here has come to pass.
Thank you very much. Tom, would you care to respond?
No, I think that in 1976, the folks back then had the reason for their position, and the folks today have the reason for theirs. I don't want to debate 50 years ago. I think we need to talk about the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We do, in fact, have some questions for each of you. And the first question, I'm going to ask Bob to answer first, and then Tom. The argument in favor of a rotating mayor is that it will decrease divisiveness from past elections and future elections. Please state your agreement or disagreement with this position.
I don't think it would end divisiveness. It would shift it. Instead of being within the electorate, it would take place within the city council chamber. The mayoralty becomes a prize to be fought over by the council members. To call it a rotating mayor is a bit misleading. It doesn't rotate. It is chosen by council. So now, instead of someone seeking the mayorship by going to the electorate, putting together a program, articulating it to the voters, and making promises that they can be held to account on, it's now done by backroom deals, back scratching, trading favors, and personalities. I don't think that's a healthier way to do it. I think it's toxic and it causes divisiveness in the city council. I don't think that's the place for that discussion to happen.
All right, thank you. Tom, would you answer the same question?
I will. I'm obviously in favor of rotation. Everything else in Monrovia rotates except for this. And the problem is, in the mayoral election, it's one person against another. In the council elections, it's not. There's 5 people running for council. They're not targeting any one other individual. They're targeting the seat. In a mayoral election, you've got one person going after another. And if you rotate that, it eliminates that. But as far as the backroom deals and back scratching, Bob, I've never seen you in the back room back there, so I'm not sure how you'd know about that. I find that absolutely fascinating because I've never experienced it. But that's just from someone who's been here for 31 years. Thank you.
All right, and I have another question, and I will ask you to answer it first, Tom. What would be the cost to taxpayers for this rotational system?
I believe there was a few dollars we had to spend to get this on the ballot. The rest of it, there is no additional cost.
All right,
Yeah, I don't see how it would have a fiscal impact.
all right, thank you. And the final question that I have, oh, we have another one as well. How can you get, and this is going to go to Tom, please. How can you get continuity of leadership when the head of the council keeps changing?
Well, the same way the school board does, the same way the chamber does, the same way Rotary does, the same way Kiwanis does, and in fact, the same way almost every other city in the San Gabriel Valley does. And I'll tell you, many of them are still ahead of us, whether we like it or not. So rotating helps people work together. You see what happens? The minute you have an election and you elect 5 people to take care of your town, setting aside all the politics, the job of the council is to take care of the asset that you all own. And on day one of them is told, oops, you may be perceived to be a little bit better than the others. And that's what starts the consternation. And I've seen it over and over and over again for over 30 years, and it's not healthy.
All right, thank you.
I like to tell people it's not what you know and it's not who you know, it's who knows you. People knew who the Monrovia mayors were. People know who the Monrovia mayor is today. I have no idea who was mayor of Arcadia or Doherty. And you know what? The people in those towns don't know either. If you don't have continuity, you don't have a chance to build the connections to the neighboring cities, to county and state government, or even to the federal government. When Bob Bartlett was mayor, people in Congress knew who he was. People in D.C. knew who he was. You can't build that in 12 months. By the time they figure out who you are, your time is up and it's somebody else's turn. You can't serve as the visionary the avatar, the person who's carrying the flag for your community if you're serving such a short period of time. Nobody remembers who you are.
All right, thank you. And the next question I'm going to ask you to answer first, Bob. All of the 6 candidates for the Monrovia City Council have voiced opinions against Measure RM. How does that speak to the voters of Monrovia?
Honestly, I wasn't aware of their position, but I'm glad that they share my point of view on this. They would presumably be the beneficiaries of the measure because once they're on the council, they would be in the running for the rotating mayor position. They don't think that's healthy. They would prefer to keep it as is. They've seen the successes we've achieved since we switched to a direct elected mayor, and they want that success to continue.
Thank you. Tom?
Actually, I don't think that's accurate. Councilmember Spicer actually voted to put this on the ballot, so I'm not sure who came up with all 6 of them against it, but it's just not true. But that's not uncommon.
All right, thank you. And the next question, the history of strong mayors, I'm going to ask you, Tom, to answer this first. The history of strong mayors who lead regionally is vital to our city. How can this occur when the mayor is only mayor for 12 months?
Well, that's a great question. We have had strong mayors and we have had weak mayors. And we had strong mayors when they were rotated, and we had weak mayors when they were rotated, and we've had strong mayors when they were directly elected, and we've had weak mayors when they were directly elected. And I think that the thing that makes all the difference in the world is how the mayor and the council get along. One thing that you may have noticed over the past 7 years is there's been more of a shared responsibility relationship between the 5 people on the council, regardless of their title. You see, it's how you treat each other. And some folks, unfortunately, once they think that they're the mayor, things change. And that's what we need to avoid.
Thank you.
If you have a weak mayor and you directly elect the mayor, then next election you directly elect somebody else. If you have a weak mayor on a rotating council system, there's nothing the voters can do. They don't have any way of redressing poor leadership. Again, it's that accountability piece. How do you hold a committee accountable? The mayor's never on the ballot. You never have a chance to say, I approve or I don't. So you're setting a system up for weak mayors.
All right, thank you. And the next question is directed to Tom, but you can both answer it. Tom, you state everything else rotates in Monrovia. What and where does that occur?
The school board rotates their leadership, the chamber rotates their leadership, Rotary rotates their leadership, Kiwanis rotates their leadership, the Unity Center rotates their leadership. In fact, I think everything in Monrovia and everything in most of our world at this level is shared, with very few exceptions. And I think there's 6 cities out of the San Gabriel Valley that have a directly elected mayor. The overwhelming decision of the San Gabriel Valley is to share that control and power, not to hand it off to any perception of one person being a little bit better than the others.
All right.
I've had the privilege to lead a couple of those organizations. It's one of the things I love about Monrovia. There are great opportunities to be involved in the community, but it's not really a rotation. You are approached, would you be interested in becoming a leader in this organization? And then you are put at a lower tier, maybe secretary or treasurer, and then you advance to vice president, and you move into the presidency's position. So you have that time to build those contacts and that connection. What we're talking about here is the council picking a mayor pro tem who may or may not turn out to be the mayor, and then it's over. You're not building that tenure and training that person to become that leader. So I think rotating mayor is a misnomer. That's not how it works. It doesn't rotate. I would prefer to leave that choice in the hands of the voters.
All right, thank you. The next question, and I will ask you to answer it first, Bob. I really like voting for my mayor and like seeing the mayor to celebrate our city. How will I know who is the mayor?
If you go to Arcadia and you ask the people there, who's the mayor, they'll give you the same answer they'll give you in Duarte and the other cities we're rotating. That mayor's name turns out to be one of those guys. They don't know. They know it's somebody on the council, but they don't know who that person is because they haven't had a chance to identify. And odds on, if you push them to name somebody, they'll name last year's mayor because that was the person that was at the ribbon cuttings and at the ceremonies and at the Christmas parade that was leading everything. You think that's the person who's in charge. And they've already rotated out. They don't know who the incumbent is. So I think that having a person put themselves in front of the community and say, I would like to be your leader, builds a bond that you just won't get when it's the council making the choice.
Thank you. Tom?
Thank you. I think the people in Arcadia and Duarte that are paying attention know exactly who their mayor is, and I talk to folks all the time who know who their mayor is. People who aren't paying attention may not even know who their mayor in Monrovia is. So it's not a matter of whether that person is directly elected or rotates in. It's whether or not the person you're talking to is actually paying attention. And to be honest with you, an awful lot of people don't. They just don't. People get busy, they get caught up in their own lives, and they're not paying attention to who's who, particularly when everything is going smoothly. When things start to go bad, people find out who the mayor is real quick. Trust me.
All right, and the next question is for you, Tom, to answer first, that is. Does the mayor of Monrovia have any powers, influence, or responsibilities that are different than a council member?
Yes, but that's true whether that mayor is directly elected or if that mayor is rotated into that position. The mayor has certain ceremonial functions that they do, and they sign off on a lot of things. We sign off on ordinances, we sign off on payroll. That's true whether you're elected or whether you're not. You see, somebody has to be in charge of everything in life, and it works much better. I can tell you, I've worked with I don't know, maybe 5 different mayors. I've seen different styles, and I can tell you, people who are willing to share do a heck of a lot better than those who don't. But as far as the mayor goes and the responsibilities of the mayor, it is exactly the same whether that individual is elected or if that individual is rotated into the position.
All right, thank you. Bob?
There are, I believe, 5 city commissions. Every member of the commission, those commissions, has to be approved not by the city council, not by the city manager, but by the mayor. So that's a big bit of influence that the mayor has. Also, the mayor chairs every city council meeting. If you've ever been in a committee setting and you get to be the chair, you realize that that gives you a lot of say over the agenda, over what measures are considered, which ones are not. If you're a council member and you like something on the agenda, you can talk to the city manager and maybe they'll put it on, maybe they won't. If you're the mayor and you want it on the agenda, it's going to be on the agenda. It has a lot of moral authority over and above what city ordinance grants it. And again, there's the public outreach piece, not only to our community, but to the other levels of governance that we need to interface with as a city in California. That mayor having that tenure and that grant of authority from the electorate is going to carry more weight in those circles than a rotating mayor.
Can I correct something in that statement that was not accurate?
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you. So when it comes to people serving on commissions, the Monrovia Municipal Code says that commissioners serve at the pleasure of the city council, and that means 3 members of the city council. Because if there's 3 against you, you're out, and if there's 3 or more in favor of you, you're in. The mere appointment is a ceremonial thing that happens after A whole process goes through, and the council liaison to every single commission is the one who brings back the recommendation. So once again, it's shared.
All right, thank you. We've come to the end of the questions. I know you're sad about that. So now I would invite you each to give a 1-minute closing statement, starting with you, Tom.
Thank you. So I started off by saying I felt that part of the argument against this was dishonest. And I'll read to you line 2 of that statement. This pointless measure is proposed by council members, not Monrovians. And that ignores the fact that there was 5 different community meetings to look at it. Now, we don't need any hands up in the audience, but thank you, Jason. Went through 9 different meetings to study this, and I'll be happy to name them if anyone needs to know. And they came out of that with a recommendation, and I'll read the recommendation to you, because this did not come from the council. It did come from Monrovians, and that statement in that letter is patently false. The group believes strongly that a rotational system whereby the mayor is selected from among all 5 members of the elected city council is a better governance model for Monrovia. Right here from the committee, right here from Monrovians, after a series of 9 different meetings, and this was a recommendation that we are following. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for taking part and giving your time. Oh,
He gets
please.
to close.
Oh, how could I?
Don't,
Please
I don't have that much to
excuse-
say, so that's fine. But
Oh, please excuse me.
I would like to point out that we have seen other cities in Southern California who have seen a rotating mayorship not actually rotate. What ends up happening is it bounces back and forth between 2 or 3 individuals within the city council. That's what's happening right now in Santa Clarita. That's what's happening right now in Montebello. And that is causing faction and division and dispute on the council and within the community. I wasn't here in 1976. I've heard that things like that happened back then. I know that's not how things work here in Monrovia today, because we don't do it that way. And because we haven't been doing it that way, we've been choosing our mayor by voting. We have seen decades of success here. When my dad brought his business here, like I said, it was kind of a faded community. Now it is one of the most popular and successful cities in the San Gabriel Valley. And I think we owe that to the past leadership and current leadership, and I would like that tradition to continue.
Thank you very much. And you know it wasn't oversight. But I was glad because now I know everybody in the audience is awake. All right, so now I'm going to just move to the closing. Thank you very much for taking the time to be part of this forum. As stated earlier, the League's voter service goal is to promote an informed and involved electorate. We hope that this event has helped you in the audience and those at home to be better informed about the choice that this election gives, that you either are going to vote yes for Proposition Proposition RM or no. Now is your turn to be involved and vote. Make democracy work by casting your ballot by mail or at the polling place, and encourage your friends and family to do the same. Keep in mind, the world is run by people who show up, and many of you showed up here tonight, and I commend you. So thank you again, and that's the end of this forum, and we will move now to the next forum. Thank you.
See you next Tuesday.
Oh, yes.
Started with the second half of our program. Again, my name is Kelly Ryan. I am the president of the Monrovia Chamber of Commerce. I thank you all for attending this evening. We are hosting this with the League of Women Voters, and it is going to be hosted by Dorothy Keene. Their team is here, and they do a great job running things for us. This is the Mayoral Candidate Forum, and if those of you are watching at home, we have a phone number for you if you'd like to call in with questions. You can call it with numbers. That was a different profession. I don't do that anymore. The phone and number for questions is 626-932-5550. Again, 626-932-5550. Those of you in the audience who are familiar with this process, if you put your hand up, a runner will come, will give you a card. You can write down your question. You can also write down your Pick 6 numbers. I can use those as well. So just put up your hand and somebody will come by. At this time, I'd like to call up Martha Gamboa, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will everyone please stand and face the flag? Place your palm over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. You can all be seated. All right, at this time, I'd like to turn it over to our moderator, Dorothy Keene.
Thank you very much. I want to welcome everyone to this Monrovia Mayoral Candidate Forum. I think many people have attended the previous forum that are attending now, but I will repeat some things. Bear with me. That is, the League's mission is to make democracy work by having an informed electorate. We are happy that people have attended, both here and at home, to hear the two candidates who are running for the position of mayor of Monrovia. In the June 7th election, the two candidates will be Becky Shevlin, who is the current mayor pro tempore, and Stephen Grolnick.
I'm not the current pro tem.
Oh, excuse me.
That's Gloria Cridgington.
Oh, okay. Becky Shevlin, who serves on the council. That is correct. Before we begin, I'd like the crew from the League of Women Voters to just raise their hands to let you know that all our volunteers, we have a volunteer, Ruth Judkins, who is the timekeeper, and we have volunteers of Debbie Fagan and Tony Kavanaugh Johnson, who are sorting through the questions that you have submitted and will be submitting. Here's an overview of the process for this candidate forum. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement about themselves and their candidacy. The candidates will be speaking in an order based on the flip of a coin. The timekeeper will keep the candidates informed of the time remaining and will raise a red card when his or her time has elapsed. Once a candidate's time is up, he or she will conclude their statements. After the opening statements are completed, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the submitted questions. The audience is invited to write their questions at any time during the forum and submit them to the question sorters. The rules for questions are that only written questions will be accepted. If they are directed to one candidate or both, they will be answered by both. If there are several questions that are similar, they may be grouped together. Questions must deal with the issue of the election. No personal references or attacks will be allowed. And all the written questions, asked or unasked, will remain the property of the League of Women Voters, Pasadena area. They are never distributed outside of the League to the press or to third parties and are destroyed. So, with that, I am going to invite Becky Shevlin. That's because I'm doing 2 forums in one night. I'm sorry, Becky Shevlin, to give an opening statement.
Thank you very much. And hello, Monrovia. And first, let me first thank the Monrovia Chamber, the League of Women Voters, KGEM, and the City of Monrovia for making this event possible. And just as importantly, a big thank you for all of you coming out this evening to listen to this, and those either in person or at home online. For those who do not know me, I have been a proud Monrovia resident for the past 34 years, and have had the great honor and joy of serving you on the Monrovia City Council since 2009. During my tenure, we have celebrated both groundbreaking successes and what may have seemed as insurmountable challenges. Successes in the opening of our Gold Line station to our Monrovia renewal efforts, repairing and improving our infrastructure, and yes, challenges such as a devastating fire, the pandemic, and an ongoing drought, but we have met them head on. And in the case of the drought, we continue to battle same. I've run for the position of mayor, not promising that I have all the answers or that I will solve all problems, but with the experience, knowledge, and skills I have acquired along the way, I sincerely promise to continue to lead by example, to educate and engage all Monrovians, and to do whatever possible to be inclusive, listen, and work as a team through and with City Council, city staff, boards and commissions, constituents, and regional representation for the betterment of all Monrovians. And I might add that my regional representation is extremely broad, including executive level posts on the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, the San Gabriel Valley Regional Housing Trust, the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District Board of Trustees, and Foothill Transit Governing Board. Other regional representation includes LA County Blue Ribbon Commission on Homelessness and Southern California Association of Governments. I'm also involved in numerous organizations giving back to our community. And at this time, I would like to provide a quote: "Teamwork makes the dream work." And to that, I say amen.
Thank you very much. Stephen.
I've been a resident for 33 years in Monrovia, and this first chance in 33 years, we get a chance to get rid of the local group. Our development in Monrovia has been made for a few rich people, while starving Monrovia downtown merchants have no business, have no one to go help them. They're just left alone. My opponent has been snoozing for the last 15 years. If she takes some of the opportunities that she's saying that she works for this, that, and other, and bring it to Monrovia, maybe Monrovia would be a better place.
Is his thing on?
Stephen, your microphone.
Did you-
Maybe Monrovia would be a better place.
There we go.
This is our first chance to get rid of this group. I don't understand why my opponent is running for mayor. She's for the rotating mayorship. The only reason she's running is to get the fourth seat on the city council, for she can control it with the other group of the Adams people who are still there. They say that the last person who gets the most votes is the one that is put on the city council. That's not true. City council has the opportunity to put anybody they want on. And that is a position that I feel that Ms. Shevlin's doing. And that is why she's running for mayor. Why would she run for mayor? She's already a city council person. Rotating mayor is coming in. What does she want to be mayor for? That's the only reason I can see. But it's a chance for Monrovia now to move forward, to clean up the mess, to bring new business in here, to take care of our people. Not outsiders, Monrovians. I arrived here 33 years ago. I found out with my dog Toto, and didn't know this place existed. But by God, for the last 33 years, it's been a wonderful home. But the ridiculousness of the Hammond Adams group is just destroying our city, and along with Ms. Shevlin and her group of people that support them, they're just going to continue to destroy our city.
Thank you. And the first question I am going to ask Becky Shevlin to answer, and then Stephen will have his chance. What qualities do you possess that make you the best candidate?
Well, I have been serving on the council for the last 13 years. I have acquired a lot of experience and education in that position. And as I mentioned, I currently am serving on many regional boards, and it's been talked about that the mayor does run the meeting or acts as the chair. I currently chair the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. It includes a board of 31 cities, 3 water districts and 2 supervisory districts, and that takes a lot of technique to do that. I also chair the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District Board. That's a board of over 20 people as well, closer to 30. At any rate, I do have a lot of experience doing that, and I am a good listener, a team builder, a team player, and I feel that I can get the job done.
Thank you, Becky. All right, Stephen, I'm going to give you the same question. What qualities do you possess that make you the best candidate?
I was the co-founder of a $35 million business.
Speak into the
I was a
microphone,
co-founder
please.
of a $35 million business and still in existence. I race harness racing. When back east, I have 12 horses racing back in New York, and it's very strange. With the great quality that Becky Shevlin has, is taking money from donors. I mean, she's taking.
I'd like to ask you to have your remarks answer the question, and it is, what qualities do you possess that make you the best candidate?
to make Monrovia a better place to live, a safer place to live, and not be a cartel-driven city.
All right, thank you very much. And the next question you get to answer first, Stephen. How do you build consensus with a deeply divided elected body?
By telling the elected body the truth, that we are a community of one, not a community of 4 or 5 people that the community is now. I was listening to the debate over the questionnaire about the measure. 4 years ago, we defeated this with Tom Adams. All Tom Adams wants to do, and Becky Shevlin wanted to do, is keep control. If they keep the rotating mayor, they will have control. I will stop that. I'll bring everybody together. This city will be a wonderful, jubilant, rich city without certain 5 people running this whole city. And that's what's happening now. 5 people run the city, and we elect Becky. She will continue to run with the 5 people.
All right, thank you. And Becky, how do you build consensus with a deeply divided elected body?
Well, for the last 7 years, I don't believe that we are deeply divided. We do definitely have our own opinions and mindsets and goals, but we have been able to come together, and I am a good listener. I also believe in study sessions and things like that we can come together, we can speak our minds, we can talk about our goals and aspirations, and we can compromise with one another and really analyze what is really best for Monrovia. Whatever the program is, whatever is being presented, that we can look at it together and analyze it and pick it apart and see how it addresses everyone's needs, not just one council member, not the mayor. It's the entire community. So again, I listen, I learn and share, and I'm willing to compromise as well. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next question I will ask you to answer first, Becky. What policies do you propose to increase affordable housing units? And how will you help people in low income stay in their homes?
It is difficult seeing that currently the average home price in Monrovia is well over $900,000. But what is in place right now, which I am very proud of, it's a program through the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. It started actually at the committee level, the homeless committee level that I was chairing. And we brought forth and were able to form a regional housing trust. And to date, we have been able to fund, it's gap funding. We don't pay for the whole thing. Over 542 units, and there's another 500 or 400 some odd units in the pipeline. And it will address, and it also has a pilot program for the tiny home structures for the homeless. And so we are working very hard. This is in place right now, and that's only been since February of 2020, and we've been able to accomplish all of that. And I want to really promote that. We've got it's a regional early planning grant funds that will also provide opportunities for the COG. I'm sorry, I could talk for a long time on that.
All right, thank you very much. And Stephen, I'm going to read the question again to you. What policies do you propose to increase affordable housing units? And how will you help people in low income stay in their homes?
Well, the first thing I would do is not take money from developers. We have right across the street here, I think, a place looks like the Bronx in New York. That's affordable housing, they said. It's $2,700 to be on the first floor. So I think 2 people get to live there for affordable housing. If that's what Ms. Shevlin thinks she's doing, well, she's destroying a neighborhood and giving 2 people places to live. This is all nonsense what she's telling you. Nothing is being done. It's just for developers, developers, and developers. And it seems that when you get money from certain people, like the Mountjoys and the Bowdens and developers, it's pretty difficult to turn down. And they're not doing anything. It's all just a lie.
All right, thank you. And Stephen, you get to answer the next question first. And what is your plan to reduce homelessness in the city?
The plan to reduce homeless in the city is to
Please speak close to the
make sure that you figure out and find out through meetings with people, not just we have a board of builders, we have a board of this, we have a board of that. I've never been on any of them. I don't know anybody in this place has been on any of them. They said that the last Mr. Adams said up here that they had 7 people, 7 different meetings. Nobody ever heard of those meetings they had for the measure. I never heard of it. Bring the people together. Bring a group of. We have great people in this, retired people. Bring them together. Let's figure this out all together, not just let Richie Cunningham's mother tell us what she's doing. That's not right. Don't make up things. The truth is the homeless are out there. They're not doing a thing about it. The truth is that the overbuilding. They're not doing anything about overbuilding and getting rich. That's all. Bring the people together. We got such great people here.
All right, thank you. Becky?
Yes, thank you very much. And I haven't made any of this up. Through the San Gabriel Valley COG, the Regional Housing Trust, we do have opportunities, pilot programs, and hope possibly someday we could also have it in Monrovia, providing tiny homes or tiny shelters. We've provided to date since November 25 in Baldwin Park, 30 in Montebello, and there's also through the COG. There's been funding available that's just being granted to the city of Monrovia, 9 actual cities, and we're going to share. And there are going to be groups of teams with clinicians that will be going out into the cities to interact with the homeless, to address their needs. Also on that last one, we do have a housing assistance pot of money that we give to people that are either starting to fall into homeless or they've been removed from their homes, and we try to catch them before that actually happens. It's been very successful. We are continuing to fund those programs to help our needy sorry, stop.
All right, thank you.
It's all happening.
Thank you. All right, and again, I'm going to ask each of you to answer the questions asked. All right, the next question I'm going to give to you first, Becky. Why would a business person support your election to office? What are your plans for building a strong city and business partnership?
Well, we do we have a very robust economic corridor, and we have many opportunities. And in our Old Town, we also have many opportunities there in a Monrovia Old Town Advisory Board that assists in that. many of this all of it is private property. So I personally can't do anything in terms of if I'm mayor, I personally can't make individual decisions. That is something that's done by the council, not just me individually. But we are very pro-business through our staff, and that really is a product through our city manager and his staffing, how we are able to accommodate and process business licenses and things like that, and to be as efficient as we possibly can to get people up and going and whatever they possibly need, and trying to navigate the process. We're there. We work with the chamber, have a very strong connection with the chamber and support them, shop local. Thank you.
All right, Stephen, why would a business person support your election to office, and what are your plans to build a strong city and business partnership?
First of all, 65% of the people down at Old Town the shops are completely vacant. Why? Because they're owned by a group of people, and they'll raise the rents very high. First thing I would do as mayor is to get a group to find out who owns all this property. I know pretty much who do. And get them all together and just say, listen, guys, here's what we're going to do. If you don't do it, we're going to tax you like you've never been taxed before. We're going to bring in new businesses here. We're going to help them out. If we have to, Monrovia has money. And if we have to give loans to people, not special interest people that they do give loans to, they're friends. Sit down with each people. As I said, we have great people here, have our own advisory board, not just people they pick out. And we'll get business in this town. It's a great little town to have business in. But the way they're doing it now, it's not going to happen.
All right, thank you. And the next question I'm going to ask you to answer first, Stephen. What are your plans for improving the infrastructure? How do you plan to address the population growth with water use, traffic congestion, parking, etc.?
Well, there's no growth in Monrovia. We've lost, there were 42,000 people lived in Monrovia. When I got here, there's 38,000 people now. What happened to this is that they just can't afford to live here anymore. 50% are renters. And when you take the water that the renters are using, and I'll give you an example. The Marriott Hotel is being built over on Foothill Boulevard and around Myrtle. And they use more water than we all drink here the whole year. Now remember, a new variance code was just approved that was rejected 2 years ago, approved by Becky and her group. And now they gave it to them because they're building there. How do we preserve water when all this building is here? And somebody's getting rich, we're not. And all the traffic it's bringing, it's ridiculous. But I guess the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And I guess that money that Becky gets from the water company and all of the board she gets, she'll bring the water in little bottles for us all.
Thank you. Becky?
Currently, and for the last several years, we've been actively performing our Monrovia Renewal project that has been fixing all of our infrastructure from sidewalks to water to sewer to our roads. And that's vital for us to create the atmosphere. It's a great place to work, live, and play. And it has been very costly, but now that we've got it fixed, the name of the game is to keep it nice and fixed and operable. And that is our main focus, is to make sure that we are funding our capital improvement projects and our reserves for keeping everything up and operating. Parks as well, all of our park equipment and playground equipment. And so that is very important. But Monrovia Renewal has been a huge boon to Monrovia, and it shows that we care about our infrastructure, everything from all of our buildings, again, streets, sewer, water. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And the next question I'm going to have you start, Becky. What specific policies will you enact to improve the transparency of city government? Well, again, I don't get to enact anything. We work together as
as a council. I think we are very transparent. We post all of our information, all of our boards, commissions, and whatnot. All of our committee work is on our website. We hold our meetings. We are now back in person, and we're having in-person meetings. I'm not quite sure. We can always, every organization can always be better. We can always be more transparent. But at our meetings, we divulge all of our numbers. We just had a study session on our budget, and we are going to be having several more study sessions on our budget. Those are public meetings that people can come, they can ask questions, and we lay all of our numbers and our facts and figures out there for everyone to see, and they're also posted on our website, and also we promote things through social media. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen, what specific policies will you enact to improve the transparency of city government?
Well, I'd actually come here to the city council and have the meetings here. For 2 years, I've never seen any of them. I saw Becky once at a park, for a dog park. In 2 years, I haven't seen anyone. You ask a question, you had to have it 3 hours in advance. These people, I don't know what they're doing. And getting back to one question before about the city structure, where Becky said they fixed the sidewalks. Well, you take a walk down any sidewalk here, you can fall down. They're not fixed. And about bringing Monrovia back with what Becky says is all the transparency. Well, they had a meeting today, and I think yesterday today at some hotel that we're picking up the tab. They couldn't have it here, but they had to have hotel breakfast. Some hotel here in Monrovia. Nobody knew about it. Nobody's invited. That they go back in that room there and they make any deal they want to make. And we come out here and they tell us all this bunch of lies. They break the Brown Act every day.
Stephen, I'm going to give you an opportunity for the next question first. What kind of policies, if any, will you pursue to promote social and racial justice in our community?
Well, Monrovia is a all-American city, but it's not an all-American city. If you live below Foothill, you're a different person. If you go further down, you're not even a citizen, or Monrovia citizen. We have to bring the Spanish and bring them teach them and bring them up here that don't be afraid. Monrovia is for all. With the Asian community coming in, we have to embrace them, for they'll have no fear that there'll be a reprisal of the problems they're having with the Asian communities all over the city, all over the United States. We have to ensure these people that Monrovia is a safe place. Run for city office. Come to the meetings. When they come to the meeting, they're looked at. It's ridiculous what happens. You come here and ask a question to any of these councils, they won't answer. They will not answer the question. And they make you look stupid. And they don't come anymore. For all the people who are minorities, come. We'll embrace you. Be part of our city. We have a great city, and you make
Stephen.
it better.
Thank you. All right, Becky.
Could you repeat the question
Sure,
again?
I'm happy to. Well, what kinds of policies, if any, will you pursue to promote social and racial justice in our community?
Well, I will tell you that back in July at 2020, we did form a committee on equality and inclusion, and they held meetings for, it was at least 6 months, and it was a representative of each one of the council members nominated someone to serve on that committee, so there were 5 committee members, and they went through all the city departments, police, fire, all of our business departments, and those were public meetings, and there was a great report at the end with recommendations. There was no systemic racism found in any of that, but they did make recommendations, which we have been working on and implementing. I believe there's about 19 left, and that we are working towards that, but all of our programs are open to everyone. There's no closed door. We welcome everyone with open arms, and we have a group in town also, the Change Makers, and they're a great group to bring people together as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And the next question I will ask you to answer first, Becky. What are your strategies to reduce property crimes such as petty theft and shoplifting?
I don't have a plan for that because that is controlled by our law enforcement and specifically our LA County District Attorney. I was one of 3 that took a vote of no confidence against our district attorney. Our police department is doing their job. They are making arrests. They are going out there doing their jobs, but the crimes are not being prosecuted. So it's it's very frustrating. Because I don't think we've got the tools to actually help our businesses with fighting back with crime, especially when you can go out and steal $950 plus time and time again, and it's just a citation. Excuse me. It's very frustrating. But again, I don't have the control, and anything that we do as a council, and we make that decision together. But I'm very proud of our PD. They are doing their job. They're going out there, making their arrests, interacting with the community. We have a great community policing department. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stephen, what are your strategies to reduce property crimes such as petty theft and shoplifting?
I agree with Becky 100%. We have no control over it. All we can do is try to help the merchants protect their interest by having a community group of people, when there's a problem there, that they can come to and try to help them get their money back that was taken from them, and by a program that lends them the money and helps them out. And any way we can help any merchant out in this city is a great plan, but the other part, we have no control over that.
All right, thank you. The next question I will ask you to answer first, Stephen, and it is, what is your position on RM and why?
4 years ago, this was brought up, and a group of citizens found out about it, and we stopped it. Mr. Adams was trying to do this again to retain his power, and that's the only reason that's up in there now. When they say that 7 boards were put together, I never heard of it. Anybody in this room ever heard of one of those boards? I didn't. They make up things that they think in their own mind. They did tell us, but they didn't tell us anything. I'm totally against it. A mayor is someone, when you walk into a room and you say you're mayor, you get respect. When you say you're mayor, you are something special. You've accomplished, you brought your city someplace. You're the voice of the city. Now, a city council person, it's a city councilwoman, city councilman. When you say you're mayor, they stand up and look at you. You bring the Monrovia to a place and you say you're mayor in Monrovia, even though it's a small town, you have respect. They'll talk to you. They'll sit down and say, what's going on? How do you do this? How do you do that?
All right, thank you, Stephen. Becky, what is your position on RM? And
I
why?
do support a rotating mayor, and I will comment again that many cities our size, that's never a reason to do it just because everybody else does. But even the Board of Supervisors rotates their chair as well. I belong to many large organizations, regional organizations, and I have to say that in the doing our business, I've never found an instance where a mayor's comments were more powerful or carried more weight than any of the other members. We're a mixed board in terms of council members and mayors. Sometimes they don't even use the title mayor when they're responding. You don't go to or turn to mayors first for opinions. We work as a team, and the mayor also doesn't set the agenda. They don't set the vision. We do it as a team, as council members together, and saying that a mayor has their ability to fulfill their vision. It's not their vision. It's us as a council.
All right, thank you. All right, and the next question, Becky, I'm going to ask you to answer first. Would you support a ballot measure establishing term limits for Monrovia elected officials?
Well, I think the ballot box is the best place, and maybe that sounds contrary to the rotating mayor, but even in the rotating mayor, you're only there a year, so it's even better than if you were there for 2 years. They get you at a year. But I think it's best left that the people of the Monrovia can vote you out instead of having term limits. I know that a lot of other cities that have term limits, sometimes you sit out and then you get to get back in. It's very confusing. But I don't see a need for term limits. I think the people can vote you out if they don't see a need for you anymore.
All right, thank you. Stephen?
Definitely 4 term limits. How long do you want to be there? Tom has been doing this for 35 years. Becky's doing it for 19 years or 18 years, whatever it is. Get a
13.
job or do something else. There's got to be more in life than sitting up here. Again, when she says that, why did she run for mayor? If she's for that rotating mayors, what the heck did she run for mayor for? I'm still trying to figure this one out. I hope you people try to figure it out and let me know.
All right. And the next question I am going to ask you to respond to first, Stephen. How will Measure K help everyday struggling families?
I don't have the faintest idea. I don't know. If everybody has in today's world with the internet and the computers and everything else, how do you get other people's problems? I don't know how it's going to happen. Wish I did. If I had that answer, I wouldn't be sitting up here. I'd be out there selling it. But I don't know. Everybody has to take their own way in their life and do what has to be done.
All right, thank you. Becky?
Could you repeat the
How
question
will
again?
Measure K help everyday struggling families?
From a financial standpoint and struggling families, it wasn't meant for that purpose, although we could decide somewhere down the line that we would supplement that fund that we have to help families with rental assistance and things like that. That's one thing. It has been also proposed or suggested that maybe we use it for mental health care to supplement or to provide funding so people can access mental health care, programs like that. But Measure K will be used for our community programs and infrastructure with things like possibly the community center, things like that. So it wouldn't help necessarily an individual family in the financial sense, but it would provide services and programs for the community at large.
All right, thank you. And Becky, what changes would you like to see to the city's current zoning and why?
Well, right now we're in the midst of our housing plan, and it is with the state of California. But we have to zone. The state of California has mandated that Monrovia have zoning available to build an additional 1,600 units at various income levels. That's a lot of units, and we have to be able to. We have to zone our city, so there are areas that can provide for high density properties. Right, we're built out, so it's kind of hard. So anything new that comes in, something old has to be renovated or torn down, and it's a real balancing act. But we have to come up with zoning for 1,600 additional units. So I don't. And it's a very, very technical and balance and formula as to what we have to provide. Our plan is not quite yet approved, but it has been submitted. It's under consideration, and in fact, you can go and see it right now online, and you can look for a housing plan online and find out all the ins and. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't looking your way.
Right. Thank you, Becky.
I thought that was a long minute.
Well, minutes grow, don't they? All right, Stephen, what changes would you like to see in the city's current zoning?
Well, we found out one thing. She didn't know what whatever that thing is, K was. She didn't know it either. So I don't feel that bad anymore. I would just fight California on it. Take the money from K, whatever the heck that is, and go fight California. And I think we can win. If we don't have the space to build. They say, build and they will come. We don't want them to come anymore. We can't build anymore. So I'd fight California with it. And by the time you fight, it'll be 25 years before something would happen and get to court, and we'd probably win. And Becky and I won't even be here. And so what's the difference? I'd just fight him with the money from Kay. But we found out Becky didn't know what Kay was either.
All right. And I'm going to call this the last question. With only two of you, I know you have answered many, many questions. And this is the final question. What will be your top priority if you are elected? And I'd like you to answer it first, Stephen.
My first priority would bring the city back to the people. We've had enough of 33 years of these group of crooks. And I'm not calling Becky a crook. She just happens to be in with the group. But all this funding and all the nonsense and all the hiding, all the Brown Act and not coming here to the council meeting, I believe in, I had an accident and a tree fell on my car. The adjuster was in Bakersfield. We got adjusters here. I mean, everything should be brought back to Monrovia. I don't need Becky to tell me that she's the kind over there that funded this house and that house. She didn't fund anything in Monrovia, did she? I mean, we're Monrovians. We buy from Monrovia. We help Monrovians. And we become a city of all people. That's what I would do. But look at all these adjusters are from someplace else. We have a tech shop here, at a computer shop. They've applied to try to get the work from Monrovia. They got turned down. I don't know who's doing the work, but I'm sure it's not a Monrovian. Keep the stuff in Monrovia. A guy called me today on the phone.
Thank
He
you,
said to me,
Stephen. Thank you.
okay.
Becky, what will be your top priority if you are elected?
Well, something happened to us the last few years, and it was called COVID. And we had to all go into virtual hiding. And we did have meetings. We had lots of virtual meetings. And you could watch online, and we showed our pictures. We were online. Was it the way we wanted to handle business? No. But my first priority would be, and because there will be new council members, is to build a strong team, because we need to work together. We need to be able to get back to business, to work together, to be out in the community, to connect with people. We've been separated way too long. And if one thing that we've learned through all this, we need to respect one another, acknowledge one another, and work together as a team. We have differences. We have different, we come from different places, different stories, whatever. But we need to acknowledge one another and be able to work with one another and get business done. But again, COVID really, we took a hit. We took a hit. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for taking the time to be part of this forum. As stated earlier, the League's voter service goal is to promote an informed and involved electorate. We hope that this event has helped each of you here in the audience and at home to be better informed about your choice in this election. Now it is your turn to be involved and vote. Make democracy work by casting your ballot by mail or at a polling place, and encourage your friends and family to do the same. As we say, keep in mind the world is run by people who show up. Remember also that the deadline to register to vote is May the 23rd. If you have moved, you must register again. You should receive your mail-in ballot around May the 8th. If you have any need to get any information about your ballot, you can get it at lavote.net, which is the registrar's website. And with that,
Do we get a closing statement?
Oh, didn't I have you
No,
invite you?
there was a last question. There was a last
It was
question.
the last question. I am so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yes. Becky, I'm going to let you lead in the closing statement. You should have poked.
Well, I started, so I'll let
you
him
get to
start.
be. Okay.
I'll let him.
All right, Stephen.
Well, we've been here an hour and a half. We learned that Tom Adams wants to be mayor again, I guess. We've learned that Becky is supported by every financial institution and builder in Monrovia. We've also learned that we haven't seen these people for 2 years. Everybody's seen me for 2 years. I've been walking the street for 2 years with a mask and without a mask. We learned also that both Becky and I didn't know what Kay was. We also learned that we're losing people in Monrovia every day for moving out of the city because it costs too much money. And we also learned the differences between Becky and I. The differences is that I want to keep Monrovia and bring it back to the all-American city. I don't want Monrovia the Bronx in New York. I want to know everybody. When I walk down the street, 50% of the people, 60% of the people say, "Hi, Steve, how are you?" I said, they come to me, I take care of problems for them. The current consul and the city and the current mayor, they don't care of problems except the bank. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Becky?
Okay, I hate to disappoint you, Steve, but I do know what Measure K is. At any rate, and in terms of me wanting to be mayor, what would have happened if I had not run for mayor? And it would not go into effect, by the way, the rotating mayor until 2024. So there did have to be an elected mayor, but just think. I believe that I am qualified, prepared, and committed to represent and work for you. I work for you. No one else, not developers, not political parties, and not any kind of political supporters. I work for the city of Monrovia and for the citizens of Monrovia. And it's critical to support and provide for public safety, provide sustainability for renewal efforts and fiscal responsibility, fight for local control. That's going to be a big issue continuing going forward. Provide for strict oversight for our Measure K funds, address housing and homelessness issues, and preserve our rich heritage and sense of community to assure a prosperous future for all Monrovians. I humbly ask for your vote for me as your next mayor on June 7th. Let's work together, continuing to make Monrovia the gem of the foothills. And you can go to voteforbecky.com or email me real hard. Oh, I'm sorry. Just talking again.
I get the final word. It was my fault. I tried to steal more time for me. I want to thank the candidates who did a great job this evening. Give them a hand. I want to thank the League of Women Voters who go above and beyond helping us out at these events. To our moderator who did a great job. I was distracting. It really is your democracy. You get to do what you want with it. The Monrovia Chamber is grateful to have you here this evening, that you show up for events like this, that you support our businesses and our community. This is Sarah Canales' last public event. I'd like to give her a round of applause for all she's done for us. Take a bow. And with that, go vote. I thank you again. Good night.
All right, I'd like to get the last word, though, if I could. Because you all know what today's date is. And I happen to be a Star Wars nut. So, as the Jedi would say, may the Force go with you.
Need help, Steve?
Well, that was a nice...